our greatest strengths, our greatest gifts in life are things that we don't even notice within ourselves because it's so natural. Your life purpose, no one can tell you that. No healer or life coach or therapist or parent or friend can tell you what that is. You're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life. You know this feeling. You feel lost. You feel like you just want some answers. This can happen to anyone at any age, and it does happen to people at any age, and no one talks about it. Hello, I'm Alexa, and welcome to the Wealth Podcast. Today, I want to talk about finding your Dharma, finding your purpose in life, finding what fulfills you. Let me just describe what Dharma is before I start using that word even more. Dharma, the Dharma. Okay, Dharma refers to your soul's purpose, your life's mission, or the right way of living. It's about understanding why you are here and how you can best contribute to the world. Higher calling. Okay, so it's our purpose in life. It's what we're going to dedicate our life to that will be the most fulfilling, energizing, the thing that we love, right? So anyway, we've all been here where, or most of us at least, I don't know anyone who hasn't been here, where we go through this journey, this searching to find what it is that our soul's purpose is. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you monetize. It doesn't necessarily have to be that it's your career, but the ideal is that it is, in fact, something that you can monetize. And the reality is that we are limitless. Our potential is limitless. Each and every one of us are actually limitless, and we always put ourselves in a box and limit ourselves. And I'm going to sneeze. Springtime. Okay. Wow. So we are actually limitless, right? So why not? Why not our life's purpose and our soul's purpose be what we do for a living? What pays the bills? What funds our life? That is the Ikigai, right? Another term for you. Ikigai is a Japanese concept. Translates to a reason for being or a reason to jump out of bed in the morning. It essentially refers to finding meaning, purpose, and joy in life by aligning what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. So we love this concept, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life. So why not? Why not? That's kind of what wealth is all about. You know, it's about finding success through the wellness, and nothing brings more wellness than doing what you love. So it took me many, many years to learn how to listen to my gut and essentially stop listening to other people. When you're so lost and you just don't know what the hell you're doing with your life and you're panicked, you just want answers. And the reality is that no one is going to be able to tell you what you're best aligned with. It all comes from inside, and the more work that you can do on learning how to listen to your gut and your intuition and to get spiritual, your guides, your ancestors, your angels, your God, whatever it may be, the universe, which helps to have some kind of spiritual practice or higher power. Until you learn how to listen to your gut and stop listening to what other people say. We love, our friends and family, they help us so much. People, on YouTube or podcasts or whatever, they can help us so much. But in terms of what you should be doing with your life, what you should be dedicating your day-to-day doing, only we know from within. And the moment that you start listening to other people's opinions about what you should do, very, benign opinions, they just want to help, and that's great. And, we love them, our friends and family. But the moment you start listening to other people's opinions about what you should do is the moment that you're going to be taken off course, period. End of story. And why do I know this? Is because I have experience in this. I listen to everyone's opinions about everything, and every single time, oh, my legs are falling asleep. Every single time that I did, I was steered wrong. It delayed my success. It delayed me from finding what I really love and monetizing that. And I am now 32 years old. Age doesn't matter. But I'm 32 years old, and I'm just now doing what is fulfilling for me and what I love to do. And I've just now found success in recent years doing things that I love way more than sticking with a career in fashion that I just completely loathed and fell out of love with. So, when I was a teenager, I was really interested in fashion. I used to make clothes. I used to be obsessed with designers. I would watch fashion shows when I was a very young child. I remember there was this show on TV in the early 2000s that would just show runway shows, like started like in the middle of the night. Does anyone remember that show being on? I have no idea what the name of it was, but anyway, that sparked so much wonder in me as a child. I did not anticipate talking about this. I can't believe I'm talking about this right now. This is like a very young childhood memory. Okay. We're bringing up childhood memories today. No, that's not what this is about. Let's get back on track. The point of this is watching those fashion shows when I was a young girl sparked so much wonder and like dreaminess in me. I mean, these shows were pure art. Production of it was so dreamy and would take you into these fantasy worlds and et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I was very interested in creating art through clothing. And so when I was in high school and the teachers and the guidance counselors asked, what do you want to do with your life? When you're, a freshman in high school, you're 15 years old. Well, I said, I want to be a fashion designer. What college do you want to go to? I want to go to fashion school. And I didn't really, super know. I was just kind of being pressured to give an answer. And I remember thinking when I was like 15, how would I know where I want to go? I'm still a child. I still have 4 years in high school to get through. Like, how would I know what I want to be when I grow up? Anyway, but they do ask you that, and I think it's problematic in many ways, but we can get into that another time. So anyway, once I was actually graduated from high school, I ended up graduating a year early. I was 17 instead of 18, and that's because I hated school, and that's a story for another time as well. ADHD, didn't do well in school, et cetera, et cetera. So I went into a program and graduated a year early, and I was ready to get the hell out of my hometown and get into the real world and have that freedom that you have as an adult. And my parents didn't want me to move away at 17, so they kind of forced me to stay in town until I was 18. And so I went to a community college in my hometown and just studied like boring, like general studies. I studied French too, which proved to be entirely unuseful. So then around this time, I remember thinking, man, I don't think I should go to college. I don't want to go to college. I just want to work. I just want to start working. That, in retrospect, was a gut feeling, one that I felt very passionately about and one that I should have followed in retrospect. Now, it took me over 10 years to realize this, but I did what my parents said that I should do because that's what you do when you're a kid. And so when I turned 18, I ended up going to fashion school and I still wanted to work. For some reason, I wanted to get a job, and my parents said, no, just focus on school. We'll support you. Very fortunate in that way. Another thing that I should have done was just get into the workforce sooner. That was another gut feeling. Is this episode becoming about gut feelings or about finding your purpose? I guess it's a little bit of both because they do go hand in hand. So where am I going from here? So then I worked in the fashion industry for about 10 years until the pandemic hit and I was out of work. I did just about everything in the fashion industry that you could possibly imagine, and I did most of it for free or for very little money. So I was not really supporting myself and I was pretty panicked, especially like once I hit my mid-20s. I was like, I really like, first of all, I don't really even like this. I realized that fashion designers don't really make a lot of money. And I don't really think that that's something that I want to do. I think that it was just a creative expression and kind of a teenage dream, to be honest. And so I spent the remainder of my 20s in an absolute panic anxiety ridden, lost person. And I think anyone from any age who's ever been in a situation where you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life, you know this feeling. You feel lost. You feel like you just want some answers. It's very anxiety ridden. And this can happen to anyone at any age. If you're switching careers, if you're, a teenager and you're going into the world for the first time, maybe this is your second act and you need to find something else to do and you're, 50, 60 years old. This can happen to anyone at any age, and it does happen to people at any age, and no one talks about it. But we've all been there. And it's that feeling of like, when you're fresh out of high school, you're in college and you don't really know what to do and you're trying to figure it out. And like maybe you think you know what you want to do and you start studying that and pursuing that. And then you realize it's something that you hate. And that's like totally a normal part of the journey of finding your Dharma. I even after my fashion career, I went into the tech industry. Some of my family members were in tech and I thought, oh, that might be like a good path. So even then I was like being influenced by what other people had done. And while that's not necessarily a problem, I realized like you need to be like radical in like, if you really believe in something, if you feel like, wholeheartedly aligned with the thing that you want to do, then you need to wholeheartedly go after it. And here's how you do it. First of all, how do you find what you want to do to begin with? Well, you need to learn how to listen to your gut. How do you do that? It's definitely easier said than done. One tip I would give is take more quiet time. Intuition is often drowned out by noise or like being around people all the time. Be alone and don't be afraid to be with your thoughts. Meditation is a great tactic. I've had so many downloads from meditating and just allowing space for your mind to just go and wander and have all the thoughts that it wants to have, but you usually don't let it because you're drowning it out with distractions, being on your phone and being around people and whatever else, watching TV, whatever else it may be. You're just constantly bombarding your mind with all these distractions. And when you just stop and like leave your phone at home and go for a walk and go sit at a park and close your eyes and listen and feel your body. And you might have a backlog of thoughts that we're trying to get through, and just let it happen. Let it pass by. Don't attach to it. That's what meditation is. It's not about stopping thoughts, but allowing them to pass through without attachment. But once you do that enough, there's suddenly like space in your mind, and space allows these inner knowings to come through. So the more you practice that, the better you get at listening to your intuition, and your intuition gets easier to hear. Another thing how to strengthen your intuition and gut feelings is noticing physical sensations. These things often manifest physically. So we call it a gut feeling for a reason, because we can feel it in our gut, right? Or maybe you get butterflies or a tight chest or calm warmth, right? Pay attention to these things. Your body is signaling messages to you. We often can feel things, get out of the logical mind and into your body and your feeling about things. How do you know if someone is a good person to be around? Because our brain can make excuses for anything, and often like if someone is like not so great to us, or like we're just not vibing with their energy, we can logically like talk ourselves out of that. But I always like to say, whenever I leave a room, I immediately take note of the feeling that I get after I leave a room, hanging out with someone, socializing, whatever it may be, even in like a work situation, or even like texting with someone or talking on the phone. I always take note when I leave. How do I feel right now? How did this person make me feel? Do I feel energized, or did they make me feel depleted? And so that's a gut feeling, because the truth is, if someone makes you feel like absolute garbage when you leave them, but then you start getting in your head and rationalizing it and saying, oh, maybe they just had a bad day or whatever. The truth is that your gut is telling you that that's not going to go away. In fact, sometimes it can just get worse the more that you're around certain kinds of people. So again, like pay attention to how your body reacts in these situations. Sometimes people get headaches when like the energy just isn't right. It's like maybe you signed up for to go back to college or to take a class or something, and you feel like a sense of tiredness after. Like maybe that's not the right thing that you should be doing. The right thing is going to feel energizing. It's going to feel fulfilling. It's not necessarily going to be easy, but it should feel easier. It shouldn't feel like your gears are stopped up or something. Like your gears are grinding. That's the term. Your gears are grinding. It's not necessarily what it should feel like all the time. Here's another thing that I encourage you to reflect on. Past decisions. Think back to times when you just knew something and you were right. Ask, what did that gut feeling feel like? What happened when I ignored it, when I followed it? And we often forget about these things very easily. We often kind of sell ourselves short in this way. Also, I hope you can't hear this chair. It's like very squeaky. But we often forget when we were right, when our gut feeling was right about something and we ignored it. But maybe you didn't forget about it, because oftentimes when we ignore our gut feeling, there's a serious consequence to it. You may have gotten f***ed over by someone, or you had a bad business deal, or you got into a fight with someone, or many bad consequences occurred. So for me, and I didn't listen to my gut feeling about, let's say, going to college, or in particular the fashion college that I went to. Well, I ended up with student loan debt. I ended up not even going into that industry. It didn't work out for me, which isn't to say that I regret it, because I got a lot out of that experience, but I would be in a very different place if I immediately listened to myself. Someone who talks about this a lot actually is Emma Chamberlain. Emma Chamberlain is a YouTuber, a very big, successful YouTuber, very young. I believe she's in her early 20s now, but she started as a teenager. Something that really struck me about her, she talks about this. I think she talked about it in one of her podcasts, which was so good. But she talked about how when she was a teenager, she just had this like gut feeling to make YouTube videos. And so she went along with it and she made YouTube videos, and she had this whole plan, and she was very driven. But the thing is that her parents supported her in this, and they allowed her to do it. And they allowed her to move to Los Angeles from the Bay Area, Northern California. They allowed her to move to LA at like 17 or something, very young, to pursue this. And she ended up being so successful. And she attributes that to following her gut. So I'm someone who has struggled with anxiety throughout my adulthood. And something that can be easily mistaken for a gut feeling is anxiety. So you do have to learn how to differentiate your anxious thoughts and your nervous system being in overdrive and kind of lying to you versus an actual gut knowing feeling. It's a knowing, right? So anxiety will say, don't do that. Don't go to work today, or don't go to school, or don't see a doctor, or don't do this, or don't do that. And we can think, oh, it's a sign. Like my gut's telling me this is a bad idea. And like, be careful with that. Know yourself. Know your anxiety. And if you don't know your anxiety, I maybe, recommend traditional mental health care like cognitive behavioral therapy, seeing a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or seeing a professional in this way, and getting to know and treating your anxiety, and getting to know and learn more about anxiety and what it is, and really work on yourself to try and determine, kind of separate what is my anxiety versus like what is not. That's practice. That's a whole journey in and of itself, and can take years and years and years to understand. But you do need to learn how to differentiate signs, knowings, intuition, gut feelings from anxiety. Anxiety is often fear, right? Fear tends to be very loud and urgent. Intuition it feels calm. It's very subtle and it's consistent. Intuition nudges you, while fear often yells and can paralyze you. So learn the difference between that. It's all a practice. It takes time. It's not like you can just kind of snap your fingers and you can get there. It's something that you need to work on. Another thing that you could do is journal. Write down what your first initial gut instinct was first before gathering outside input. And in fact, I would say just on things like your life purpose. No one can tell you that. No healer or life coach or therapist or parent or friend can tell you what that is. And in fact, you need to be very precious about this when you're seeking and when you've figured out what it could possibly be. And there can be many, I'm not saying that there has to be just one, but there can be a few. And you need to be very protective about this. From the point where you're seeking it to the point where you know it and you're going to act on it. Because as soon as you tell people, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm going to pursue, everyone's going to try and talk you out of it and think you're crazy. But when you have that knowing and feel that alignment with this thing, it will work out. One last thing I would say before we move on to learn how to strengthen your inner voice, your intuition, is check in with yourself often. Ask yourself, does this feel right? Ask yourself, does this feel light or does this feel heavy? Am I doing this from love, curiosity, or am I doing this from fear? If no one else had an opinion, what would I choose? Because remember, opinions, other people's opinions, they don't matter. You got to figure out what feels right. So we've talked about how to strengthen your inner voice and your gut and your intuition. But what does it feel like when you find it, when you find your purpose? Well, I have to say that oftentimes our greatest strengths, our greatest gifts in life are things that we don't even notice within ourselves because it's so natural. So in this way, talking to your friends and family is helpful. And here's what you do. You ask them what they think your greatest gift is and what they like about you. Just very benign question, just out of curiosity, what do they think that you bring that's unique only to you? And don't attach too much to their responses because sometimes other people can project things onto you. But if they say something that feels aligned with you, then you can attach to that and you'll just know. You just realize oh, I do have that impact on people. I do that thing. People do come to me for this. Or, you kind of realize oh, I do that and I don't even consciously do that. That's just so natural and a part of me that I don't even notice it. I don't even notice that that's my gift. And for me, I had a therapist tell me once that I should be sharing my mental health journey and my mental health tips because I have learned a lot on how to deal with anxiety and ADHD. And she said that I have a light and that I can help other people with this who are struggling. And I realized that I've kind of been like that, in a sense, my whole life. And I never realized that that is my gift, my ability to take care of my mental health and take care of myself. I actually have so much to share and teach others. And actually, I'm already doing it. My friends have said that to me and my family, and I didn't even realize that that's a gift of mine. There's no ego. It's not I'm so good at this and I'm just going to impose all of my things I've learned about mental health on everyone all the time and trying to help everyone all the time. That's not at all where it comes from. It's just something that I just do, and it's so natural. And so I never noticed that. I never knew that that was my impact on others. And that's really cool. It's to hear from someone else. You know what I mean? So it takes work to figure out what your gift is because again, we don't even realize it. It's so natural to us, our own gifts, that we don't even realize we're special. But each of us has that. You just have to figure out what it is. It's going unnoticed. So ask your friends, ask your family, and see what they say. You may or may not get answers that feel connected or feel aligned to you. And the other thing is it's something that feels natural, right? It's something that you maybe do already. So how can you turn that into something more fulfilling and perhaps something that you can monetize? One of my best friends, she's kind of in this place right now where she was in the corporate world for years and just felt like a total robot and like she was dying inside, and she made the leap to leave. And now she's kind of like, I don't know what to do. And she's a little bit lost. And it's very like, anxiety inducing. And, she just doesn't know. She doesn't know what to do. She's in that place, right? That we've all been. And she is like the most amazing writer that I've ever known. The way that she observes the world and conveys that and articulates that is so amazing. And I know that I'm not the only one who appreciates her writing. She'll write things in like Instagram posts, and it's just truly such a gift that she has. And so we were talking and I told her, I need some water. So we were talking and, I said, well, you're such a great writer. What do you want to do? Like, what do you really want to do? If money wasn't an object, what would you do? And she said, I would write. And I said, okay, so write. I said, are you writing right now? Are you already doing this? And she said, yeah, I am already doing this. She said, well, I don't want to write like for someone else and like, copywriting or something like that. Like, I don't want to do anything like that. I said, okay, well, you don't have to do that. She said, I don't want to make it feel like a job. I don't want my passion and the thing that I love to do the most to feel like a job and then I lose, the enjoyment out of it. Very valid. And I said, okay. I said, well, are you writing right now? She said, yeah. I said, well, what are you writing? And she said, well, I'm working on a book and, I'd like to do another book. And I said, great. So do that. Keep doing what you're doing. Put out the book and see what happens. Because actually, maybe that'll make you money. Like, you don't know until you try, until you really get out there and advocate for yourself and get your work in front of others. And if you're truly aligned with it and you feel like it's your life's purpose, why can't it support you? Why not? Get rid of that limiting belief, because also speaking energetically, like those limiting beliefs will limit that abundance from coming in your life. So let go of these ideas of, well, I can't write and make a living off of it. And like, yeah, most people probably can't. But I truly believe if you follow your Dharma, if you follow what your greatest gift is that you have to offer in the world, then the universe will take care of you. You will be okay. And we just get so distracted. And in fact, like being in the corporate world, being at a 9-to-5 job, being at a company, companies do everything to take that out of you, to take your individuality from you, to take your greatest gifts from you, right? They want you to be this certain thing and offer this certain thing. And that you may be great at, and you may be great. There's something that we all have that is so special and amazing. And who's to say that we can't have that support us? Or even just something that fulfills us. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be a writer and write books and that'll support you. But, maybe you do. Maybe unlike my friend, like you would be okay with writing for a company and, whatever. So figure out what that looks like for you. All right. So in closing, don't listen to what other people have to say about what you should do with your life or about what your life's purpose is. Finding your Dharma, finding your life's purpose, finding the thing that energizes you and fulfills you and all that, it takes time. It takes practice. We have to silence all the noise, outside noise around us. We have to silence those limiting beliefs and limiting thoughts that, we can't do this, we can't do that. And like, I used to think it was a terrible idea that I got into the arts and I got into fashion, right? It was a terrible idea. Like, you don't want to get into the arts if you want to make a living. Very rarely people make a living from being in the arts. You have to be like one of the best, most talented person. It's like, going to the NBA or something, right? But I do believe that fashion design was not my Dharma. And I had to learn that the hard way because I ignored my gut about it. But also, sometimes you just got to grow up and try a bunch of things and figure out what it is that you like and what feels aligned with you. But you can try a bunch of things, but you still need to look inward and you still need to do the work on finding out what is aligned. I highly recommend to call to your guides and your angels or whatever you believe in and ask specific questions and ask to be guided to what it is that you should be doing with your life. And once you have the intention to, for me, it's like, okay, how can I best help others with my gift, right? Guide me to that. Then the money comes. So instead of focusing on the money, focus on how you can best serve others, how you can best use your gifts to help others, but also to lead a fulfilling life. I hope this helps, and let me know where you're at in your life. I really hope that this video is guided to anyone who's going through that kind of lost space in their life. And I hope that you got something out of this, some kind of plan of action to help get you where you should be and what you should be doing and working on. And I will have to say just one last thing. How do you know? How do you actually know what your life's purpose is? Because I've had a million ideas about businesses and what I should do and what careers I should go into and who I should be and all these things. I've had so many ideas and most of them have failed. But when you find the one that is your soul's purpose, your life's purpose, you have no doubt. So that's how you know that it's real. You have absolutely no doubt. And it feels like a knowing. It feels like you just are getting downloads. It feels like kind of easy to do, whatever it is. It just feels easy. It feels aligned. It's just flowing in. And there's nothing that can convince you not to do it. And it's something that you enjoy doing. And it's something that no matter what, you will always want to do. Because when you start a new project, especially if you're trying to make money out of it, everything's going to convince you to stop doing it. Any little doubt in your mind that you have, and it's normal to have doubts sometimes, any little doubt, oh, I can't do this or whatever, will cause you to stop doing it. And so it's not the right thing. It's that easy to just, if you just have a few little thoughts or someone says something and you're like completely have given up on the thing, it's not the right thing. It's not your Dharma. Because when it feels right, when it feels like you have that knowing that this is the thing, nothing can persuade you elsewhere. Nothing can get in your way from it. So comment below if you've experienced this, if you're currently experiencing this, what's helped for you? Let me know. And I hope this has helped, and I'll see you in the next one.